Here I am again. Good evening. It's evening now, and there's a bit of a light, we say, at the horizon, but there's black clouds here, and then at the horizon, the light of the light of God is there at the horizon. So there's a bit of light. I'm near the window in my home, and behind me, of course, is the road to Emmaus when Jesus talked to the two apostles on the road there. There he is, and they recognized him, and of course they fell to their knees, and he disappeared. What a marvelous experience! But I'm just observations. Um, Funny enough, I visited a park recently in Dublin, Phoenix Park. When you're a tour, you sometimes have time. And I drove the car because I live in County Meath, and motorways are good. Although, funny enough, the N3 uh, that I sometimes go on, there's two toll booths there. Now, it's not a fortune, 150 that's euros, 150 euros when you're going in one, and then another 150, that's €3. So going back to another €3, so €6. I suppose I wouldn't rob you. €6, you can't get much for that now. You might get a bar of chocolate and a box of matches if you were smoking, but I do. I'm trying not to do either. I was taking too much chocolate, so I've given it up for Lent. And not alone giving it up for Lent, actually, it's it's probably nice for young people to get an odd treat. We used to get an odd treat when I was young, but you didn't get too much wood because, quite frankly, money was tight, so it had to go on other essentials. But the business of the observations. I was hoping to sort of take a stroll in Phoenix Park, but as I went up the road that I normally go from Parkgate Street, that's the way I came in. Down I went, up I went towards Phoenix Park. But do you think I could park? No, there was a lot of little barriers for cyclists. I didn't see too many of them, and those that I saw were kind of fit-looking lads, and they were in the pig's back, weren't they? Here was I in my motor car. I thought I was in the pig's back driving. I wasn't cycling to it. So I had to go off and go round to see if I could find a parking place somewhere. So I spent a bit of extra time and I got something near the zoo. Perhaps a bit of parking there for the zoo. Perhaps we all should be in there with the animals. They don't have to go anywhere. They're stuck in there. But anyway, that's a little aside, just an observation. So I just noticed that on the road where I could park before, I can't park. What do you make of that? I think that's an infringement in some ways with what was happened heretofore. By all means, have bicycle lanes. We've got to protect the cyclists because, Dublin's a busy spot. So, and there's no harm for them to have cycle lanes. I'm not too happy with them having permission to go on the footpath. Because after all, when you're walking the footpath, the last thing you want is a bicycle to bump into you. Happened me one time. Not in Dublin, some other place, where the same thing was permitted. Because you could be injured, but look, fortunately I wasn't. But I let a good roar at that fella that did that, a young fella. And of course, when you're in a foreign country, your rights are not quite the same as when you're in your own country. But I think my rights now has been interfered with. John Malone, because goodness, had to go off and park and find parking somewhere else. Fortunately, I know Dublin, but if I was a stranger, for example, how was I going to, what was I going to do? I might have to do in a boot turn somewhere and go off home and come in perhaps in a bus or a taxi, perhaps even. Well, come in a bus somewhere and then get a walk up. But by the time you get up to where you want to go, sure, you'll be time for you to go back and get in the bus. I want to have a bit of walk and the green through the trees and get a bit of fresh air. Man, if you're living near the seaside and you can go out along the pier, say in Holt, where I grew up when I was a little fella before my father was transferred down the boy down Roscommon, and you could walk along the pier. Not that I was looking for fresh air that time, I was a young fella, and I had enough fresh air because you were walking all everywhere. You didn't have such a thing as transport. But now here we matured. We were looking at a bicycle for years, and now we have cars and now they're interfering with it. And yet we're paying high taxes, very high taxes on cars. So they'd want to weigh up the taxes that they get from the car people as against the lack of taxes they get from the bicycle people. By all means, let people cycle on bicycles if they're fit to do so, and if they have the time and all the rest of it, because this is what the car used to get you around a little bit quicker down the country, but certainly not in the city. The bicycle is quicker there. Anyways, these are just observations, and things change because of the traffic, and there is a lot of cars, of course, maybe too many, but I think when we go to the Phoenix Park, we want to unwind, don't we? We want to relax after the stress of the traffic. And now it looks to me if I was living in Dublin, I don't think I'd have a car because that transport is free for me when you're over a certain age. Charlie Haughey bought that in his T-shirt for older people because they were often isolated. They'd have to pay and money was scarce. So he did that. That was a great thing. But unfortunately, the Labour Party and other ones that never did that for anyone much, uh, they started extending this free travel to others that were quite fit to sort of perhaps pay their own way. This was for older folk that was isolated. That was the reason it was brought in. Charlie brought that in. There was no need to extend it to others because now I think even people who come in from abroad are able to get free travel because I've seen them getting on buses with, and they're not walking out a brass pardon. I think I would go to their countries. I don't think there's any free travel for them even over there. They might have free travel in a certain area where they're living, but they won't be able to go anywhere after that. Whereas in this country, we can go from Dublin to Cork or Donegal, or wherever we want to go. Uh, but I think it was for older folk when they retired that they had some little means of going about. They weren't stuck in their homes and so on and so forth, talking to the wall or talking to the wife and boring the pants off her because you were used to be working and suddenly you're stuck about the place. And she sort of said, will you clean the dishes or do this, that, and the other? Or cut the grass. And I wouldn't blame her because not used to having you about the place. You know yourself. You've all have that experience. We all have these experiences in life, but we have to take it with a grain of salt and make the best of it. You know. So there you are. This is just an observation. I hope I didn't go on too long, but I have a tend to wander. This is what happens, when you have time in your hands. Okay, bye. Just a minute now. I don't know. We always have to go through this, that, and the other.